headset problem, so I wasn't sure if you were hearing me or not.
I hear you.
No, we did. Sorry, yeah. My fault for not acknowledging that. So definitely thank you for figuring out that the edit bar didn't work. That would have been a nasty...
Yeah, I kicked the tires like you, and I noticed that.
You know, when I was kicking the tires on 921, that like the first thing I did was edit bar, add a module, move a module, add existing module, all that good stuff. And for whatever reason, this time around, I didn't test the stuff that worked last time. I tested all the stuff that I had issues with and wasn't working in my 921 build.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm not sure if you saw the pull request, but there's a pull request submitted now that fixes all that, gets the edit bar packaging correctly.
So is there still time to take other pull requests for 9.2, or it's officially code frozen, or that's what we're going to decide later?
I mean, that's what we'll decide here. I mean, it's officially frozen for any new issues. Your issue with the ordering can probably sneak in, would be my guess.
Yeah, because I had another one ready also for the host email settings.
Yeah, so that one was in. That one made it in before the deadline.
No, it's still open.
I know it. I mean, you got it submitted before the code freeze.
Yeah.
And I was planning on reviewing it. I just, unfortunately, getting the 922 package took a lot longer than expected to get generated, and that took up all my time yesterday.
Yeah.
So that one, I kind of made the decision that it would either have pushed the 922 package out a couple more hours, and I just didn't have those hours yesterday.
Yeah.
But since we're doing another package now, we can talk about it in this meeting. And if it's something that everyone wants in there, we just need to get 2 reviewers to test it, really, as the...
It's not a big change because it was already there. It's just the field is added back in the UI.
Yep. Yep. No, it is a super simple change. It's just like the testing time. It just wasn't there.
Yeah.
Wow, Oliver, I can feel the breeze.
Nice. Yeah, I finally sprung for a camera. And I didn't have time to clean my office, so...
We just don't see you, though.
I mean, if you guys want, I'll go put the jet ski in the water, and I can try to call it a meeting, and I'll just do circle.
I'm pretty sure it's somewhere in the water.
No, it's right there in the corner. I don't know if you guys can see it.
Yeah.
No, I meant you. Yeah.
Oh, no, I definitely want to get out there. We're supposed to get a storm here shortly.
That's cool.
I felt bad. I was like the only one on the call without a camera for the last like 2 months. So finally I sprung for one.
You look like a tree.
I might look like a butterfly shortly. A little earlier, a couple butterflies like flew right in front of the camera. I was like, oh, nice. Look at that. Next week, I'll have the hummingbird feeder moved up. So I guess we'll probably give it another, I don't know, 3-4 minutes or something. Get started, see if there's any stragglers coming. All right. What do you guys think? Should we get started or?
Yeah. Let's see, so.
Nice, there we go. All right, so status on 922 for the release candidate. I got it all prepped yesterday. I was about to release it last night after some real quick testing, and I'm glad I did not, since a few other people found some issues with what was going to be the build early this morning. The edit bar wasn't functional due to a packaging issue with the combined repository. So I just finished tracking that down. I submitted a pull request against both the development and the release branch to fix the MS Build script to handle the differences between how the edit bar was packaged and how the main persona bar and extensions are packaged. So I verified that both types of packages are generating correctly. I did a couple local installs. As soon as that pull request is reviewed and merged in, we can generate a new build. There's one other issue though that we will definitely need to get in before the final release. And I'm not sure if Thomas has an update on that. It's the checksum update for the security analyzer for the 922 release. I went to go update that last night, and I found out that there are references to the checksum of all the Evoke packages as well. So I'm not able to generate those. So I guess we'll need somebody from ESW to update those checksums and submit a pull request so we can get that merged into the release branch as well.
Oh, well, I suppose that if we have Evoke parts in community, it probably shouldn't be there. Okay, but that's a step for the future. Yeah, I know that we talked about it on Slack briefly, right? I was not aware of that file at all, so that's a bit tough. About if I can ask you a quick question about the edit bar thing, we noticed with Evoke that when we bundle the current community build, there's this weird thing going on with Persona Bar that it looks like we have Evoke with platform Persona Bar. None of the Evoke extensions actually appear as menus on Persona Bar, and icons are broken. Do you have any idea if this would be related?
Are you guys rebuilding the Persona Bar from the combined package, or are you using the packages that are included and just modifying them?
Not modifying anything. We're just taking the install, upgrade, symbols, zip packages from community builds, some from VSTS, and pretty much as we did before. So until 921, we would first build the zip files from platform repository, and then they're just used as is, as the basis for Evoke. But now that when we use the current platform builds, it does not produce the same effect for Evoke. Right. So I have not yet had any update, any findings from ESW guys, engineers. I figure I shall create, there's two kinds of tickets actually, but they're probably the same thing, the same problem. One, like I said, instead of the icons, Persona Bar just circles, and the edit bar as well. And the other problem is that the customs or the extensions for Evoke do not show up in Persona Bar at all. And it actually looks like I said, it's styled differently. It looks like plain Persona Bar, plain platform Persona Bar. It gives you the correct version for Evoke, but it says update to Evoke as well.
Yeah, I've got no guesses on what that could be offhand. I'd be happy to take a look if you can provide a development build of.
Sure.
Yeah, the question is how the Persona Bar is built in the evoke products, whether they just how they surface or put on top the extra evoke features into the on top of the persona bar. I think that's a question.
The only changes that we made to the persona bar are basically the build scripts. That's why I asked if you were like rebuilding the persona bar.
No,
persona bar extensions that they're
we're
going
not
to
rebuilding.
Because like the paths change slightly in the development environment, but in an install environment, all the paths are the same. So if you guys are like expecting the UI folder to be like 3 folders deep, everything kind of moved up one, and we combined all the build scripts. So the majority of the changes are in the MS build scripts for just packaging.
Oliver, is your upgrade working? Have you upgraded from 9.2.1 to 9.2.2? Is it working?
I've only done a clean install.
Okay, so maybe I think let's Thomas maybe have him try that, because he would be able to see that then. Is there any open source extension available for Persona Bar that you could test with, that you could install on 9.2.1 and then upgrade, or maybe just install on 9.2.2? Anyone has written open source Persona Bar extension?
Maybe Daniel. I think he was the only one
my blog might have
it.
some sample, right? There might be some sample in my blogs or something that you can just see.
No,
That's one of my head.
It's something you should know.
I just started.
Yeah, Ash, you have a bunch in your GitHub, and Scott has the rest of them.
You know, if we get a couple more eyes doing some testing, I definitely don't have time to do a full round of, upgrade, install, third-party module install. I'll definitely try and upgrade. If an Evoke package is provided with the issue, I'd be happy, like I said, to look at that and see if it's anything on our end that caused that. But I have no idea how Evoke's registering their add-ons. But nothing has changed, like in any of the Persona Bar code for that.
Yes, well, I did not change anything on our CI. So all that changed is that instead of sourcing our builds of platform, I take whatever comes out of ASTS. That's the only change. So there must be a difference somewhere.
Yeah, no, I'm sure there is, and if you can just send me a Slack message with a build, I'd be happy to.
So Scott has got some open source, right? So you could test with those. It's in the chat.
Yeah, the links on the chat should be good for testing, because I've installed those previously, and there are real Persona Bar modules. The one I've made in the past was kind of just a Persona Bar link to another page.
The Persona Bar is built with, I guess, really the only other change might be the Yarn 1.7. I don't know what Jenkins was using.
Yeah, I mean, if it affects Evoke, then I'm assuming it will affect others as well, right? There's some more. I think you need to have a couple of people testing.
Yeah, the thing is, personally, I don't really know what to look for, what can actually be happening. So how those extensions are registered, I'm not that much aware of what's going on behind under the hood. Anyway, if anyone has some ideas, let's just drop them on Slack. I don't think we need to debug right now.
Yeah, for sure. No, that would definitely be a show-stopping issue. There's no question there. Let's see, I guess after that, the only thing that was on the agenda was 9.3 planning.
Before moving to 9.3, there will be another build of 9.2.2, right?
Yeah, for sure.
There's a pull request I submitted today that kind of completes another one I submitted earlier this week for the order of the fields in the user profile.
Yep.
Is it possible to merge that into 922 because they kind of go together?
Yes, I would vote for it.
Yeah, I've got no problem if we can get just the two people to review it, getting it into the build. Right now, it looks like the only people on this call are Ash and Brian and Tomas that would be able to do a review.
Okay.
And it's a very simple change. It's just updating the initial data that's used to build out a clean new install to adjust the view order and positioning of the region field in relation to the country field.
Exactly, because the country must come first, because when you select a country, it changes the region from a text box to a drop-down. So if it's first and you enter a region, then when you select a country, you lose the region you just entered. The country must be above the region for that to work.
Hasn't this been autocomplete text? I think Peter created something like this, but I'm not sure about this. Or is it just a drop-down for the regions?
For the region, it really becomes a drop-down as soon as you select a valid country that has regions in the list. So if you enter a region, it's a text box, then you select a country and the text box goes away and it's replaced by a drop-down.
I know that it's the wrong order. Was just a question. I remember that in 740, Peter Donker added the option of using autocomplete and I think he activated it for country and region. That's why I'm a little bit astonished.
Yeah, now they're different. The country is an autocomplete, but the region is either a normal text box or a dropdown.
So then just my suggestion here is that it seems like this has been an existing feature of behavior for a long time. Yeah, I mean, you want to respect the code freeze date and perhaps let it go through the regular process for the next release.
Yeah, no, my point was that it's already accepted. It's already built into 922.
Right, but there might already
for kind of half the issue. Now the order kind of goes together with the other fix. If you look at the issue, you're going to see it kind of related. So that's why maybe you want to bundle it.
Yeah, there was a fix. There was a previous pull request that was submitted and merged that adjusted the placement of the field in the website template, and that didn't adjust the view order in a new install.
Exactly.
So that's where the second pull request has come from.
Completes something that's already there, already merged.
But I've got no problem with it going in, but it is a group decision. So if Ash thinks it doesn't go in, I don't know what everybody else thinks.
I think it should go in, but we need to test it to make sure it works afterwards.
Yeah, I'm kind of I lean the same way because we've had enough half-assed things rolled into the platform. It's a pity this was overlooked, but so be it. That's what we're confronted with.
Yeah, I think we noticed today that there are several places where you can specify the order, and if you don't specify it on all the places, then you will end up with a wrong order at the end. So that might have been an issue in 7.4 as well.
Yes, so Sebastian.
So the reason why it's still wrong.
So my question here is that why was it not, again, not trying to, it's not a blame or anything, why was it not found in the initial review? And we need to have a policy, like if we feel that we're past the code freeze and the initial issue was incomplete, whether we roll back the initial one or because this is a slippery slope, right? So ideally it should have been fixed at the very beginning, right? And we would have, this is not the only time you're going to run into this, because Without
Yeah, but I think any testing period is to identify issues with the fixes we got into, and if we always want to roll back and resubmit next time, I don't think this is a policy which is very helpful in the future. So that's why I'm proposing that if we have a pull request which was accepted, and then we notice an issue during testing, then of course it needs to be fixed.
Yeah, but this is pass code freeze, right? So what is the value of having a code
Yeah, even pass. Yeah, but the idea of code freeze is it's a feature freeze. That means any fix you got in, but if you why would you have a release candidate afterwards if you don't fix the issues that would show up during this release candidate testing?
I mean, right now the only issues that we're really saying that we're fixing in a release candidate or show-stopping issues or any new bugs. And I mean, it is like, I don't know, like Ash said, there's a fine line there. I see his point. You know, this isn't a new bug. If you go back and look at every DNN release since the fields were added, region's always been above country. So like on one side, you know, it is kind of, it's not a regression issue, it's an existing bug.
Well, actually, it completes something that's already merged before the code freeze, because the testing that was done was creating new sites. And when you create new sites, you already have one and you create a second or third, it uses the website template for the field orders. But when you install a clean DNN, it uses the SQL script to set that order. So the testing was not done enough to account for that. I thought it was working properly until I did a clean install, and then I noticed that it's different on a clean install than just creating a new site. So it kind of
so the situation. Yeah, let me summarize. The situation is that we now got a worse situation than before, because now we have an inconsistent behavior on new sites or on adding on the first site during a new install, and when adding a second site later on, right?
Exactly. So if we take it,
so and this is something we should avoid.
Yeah.
So the option is simply either undo the first change or fix it.
Yeah, I wouldn't leave it half done. Now, the first pull request is already merged. This one is a very small change, just reversing one field order, and it would bring it uniform, or we reject both, and then we have to go back. So I think it's so small that I would take it, but it's up to you to decide.
Yeah, I mean, like
just a single it's just a single line in the SQL script, right?
Yeah, just changing the order of country and region. That's it.
In the SQL script, yeah.
It's never a question of how
we're generating a build no matter what.
Yeah.
For the release candidate because of the other show-stopping issues. So like it's just a matter of interpreting if the issue is true regression or not, and I don't know, we just have to come to a consensus on what we want to do with it. Sebastian's for it. Ash isn't. I definitely don't mind approving it. Just because it's so simple, the data provider, it's really an issue that doesn't require any like in-depth testing.
Okay, we have, if I understand correctly, we have three options. Either we leave it as it is, we don't approve the next PR, but we have approved this one, or we roll back the previous PR and we wait for the solution to be complete and then we roll it in. Or the third option is to actually now quickly accept the new PR so that we have it complete in 922. I think those are the three options, right? And
the first one would be the worst one.
Exactly. So I think we're very quickly agreeing that number one is not an option. Is that correct?
Yes.
It wouldn't be dramatic. It's just that it won't be consistent. So when you install .NET Nuke, it works one way. And when you create a new site, it does another way. It's not very consistent.
And I vote for including the pull request, since it's really fixing something that was discovered in a test for a pull request that was done before the code freeze.
Right.
Right, that's 2 votes
And-
for, 1 votes against. Who else is for?
I'm for reviewing it, I'm sure.
All right, 3. Who's against? Besides Ash. Who wants to roll everything back? Come on, Ash, you got to rally your troops.
Yeah. I mean, you guys are running the platform, right? I'm just raising a point here that this is a slippery.
I'm point taken, of course. I mean,
Yeah.
I think your position is clear and well articulated, and I think this group just has to make a decision and basically, balance between the 2 interests. And I think this is teething issues for us as we take control of the platform. But your point is well taken, the slippery slope, etc., etc. So,
And I respect whatever decision the community takes, right?
Right.
But given the experience I've had with the release and whatnot.
oh, and you're familiar with the, with the dynamic. You've sat on that seat for a long time, so I understand that.
So, Peter, if you don't mind, I guess, reviewing it, or Brian, I can do
Yep.
the second review and merge it, or if you guys can just both review it and the second one merge it.
Sure.
We'll have to make sure it goes into the release branch and into the development branch.
All right. Make sure you
I'm
communicate.
not 100% sure on the process for doing that. The change that I submitted for fixing the build script for the persona bar, I submitted 2 pull requests, one that targeted each branch. I don't know if that's preferred, or I don't know if there's a magic command I have to type in Git.
So when we were doing it, the previous process we're doing was that you would merge it on the development branch, someone would test it, and it looks okay, then you would cherry pick it into the release branch, so that you're not in that state where you're generating multiple builds on the release branch, right? Once the release is set, you want to try to reduce the number of builds, right? So that's the process we were following earlier. So, of course,
It makes sense.
Yeah, no, I've got no problem following. I wasn't sure, and I've definitely never cherry picked anything. So I would just need to figure that out, or
you need that tool, one of the tool on your Windows. You can't do that through the browser. I don't think you can. You just right click and you select the whatever branch, and you just right click and cherry pick. What it does is that it applies that change locally to your branch.
Yep.
And you got to still push it.
Okay.
So it's all on your desktop.
So then I guess we would go through the normal process of 2 reviews on the development merge, and then
Right.
the cherry pick would be a direct push by one of the approvers.
I've never really agreed with a process that with cherry picking, and one reason I think it was done this way is that the release branches now continue to live on, so we still have all the 7 and 8 and 9 branches. Otherwise, you wouldn't have those changes in development at all. But the problem here is that now you have multiple changes for the same thing, and once you have the same comment on development, the other on release branch, and it's just a recipe for disaster if you want to merge any of that. I'd rather we did pull requests on the release branch, which we don't have to merge into development anyway. I suppose that with the CI, it's enough to have the pull request built, and the pull requests generate all the necessary installers to verify correctness. I'd rather we did it that way and then merge from release to development. This would give a more clear history. Also, you may, in rare cases, you may end up having conflicts when trying to cherry pick, which is even more cumbersome.
Yeah, I don't have enough experience with either to, I guess, have an opinion at the moment, since I've never cherry picked anything and dealt with the consequences. But I'm happy to do either. I definitely want to do whatever is best for the platform and makes management the easiest. What you're suggesting makes sense. So I guess we just have to figure out if that's the process we're going to use going forward with 922. To handle the couple show stopping issues that we have with the 922 build to generate the next RC. Are you available after this meeting, Thomas, to help, I guess, work through that process and get at least the build script merged in? And then we'll have I guess the pull request from Daniel to merge in. And then at some point here, we're going to have a third pull request for the checksum update. We still have to figure out, I guess, who's doing that. If that's going to come from ESW or if that's something that one of us will have to do. I've got no problem just updating the platform and not updating the evoke items.
Okay, yeah, it does sound like a lot already. I mean, it's 9:30 p.m., so I can stay a little longer, but I will probably be available for that much time. But sure, yeah, let's.
No, I mean, I would like to get the RC out tonight, if today, tonight, or early tomorrow, if possible. If we go any further past tomorrow, getting the release candidate out, it's going to push the release date out a week.
Sure.
For the final build.
No, of course, I can stay a little longer. Let's get this going, and I'll help whatever you need.
Yeah, no, I just need help, I guess, figuring out how to merge one of these pull requests into both branches. If everyone's all right with what you're suggesting, I've got no problem handling the merges that way. I mean, we've got, I think, 4 or 5 total that will have to happen for the next RC. But if you help me with the one that I submitted, I guess we just need 2 people besides me to review it. Then we can do the merge right after this call. And I don't know if you if you can send the evoke build as well, then later on, you don't have to stick around for that, but I'll kick the tires on an evoke install and see if I can reproduce the issue that you reported. And if it is on our end, I will see if I can figure out a fix for it and get that in. But if it's in any of the evoke stuff, I know nothing changed, but I've got no experience with how extensions are registered or inserted in the persona bar, so it's going to be completely new.
Yes, well, I'm not sure how we can approach this one, but I can at least show you what's going on. And
yep,
I can help later with the testing for what I can, but it's going to be late. I don't know what time you're going to be still on.
Yep. No, I'm working the rest of the day. I was hoping not on show stopping issues, but really no choice at the point there's really no option right now unless somebody else is volunteering to look at and fix that issue. But as soon as I have a build ready, I'll definitely ping you, let you know, so you can test it. Definitely appreciate that help.
Cool.
So I guess unless anybody has anything else on 922, we can switch over to 930. I think Matt's working on an issue. I'm not sure if that'll be ready for 9.3. The dependency updates for the persona bar?
Yeah, I don't know if it'll be ready for 9.3 or not. It depends how much time I get. I'm cranking through some of these even on this call, so I've got about 11 of the components completely updated to the latest React and all the latest dependencies for any that were in there, ESLint, everything. And got, I don't know, maybe 35 more to go. So
Right.
slow progress, but
I mean, there's
progress nonetheless.
7 weeks, I think. The code freeze for 9.3 is
Okay. So yeah, then I should be
the
able
5th
to
of
have
October.
the React Common stuff updated. And then we just have to then update all the NPM packages and references in the admin experience project. And that shouldn't be too difficult. That'll be fairly straightforward. So, I mean, hopefully this release, we can move everything over to NPM and get stuff off of MyGet. So.
Sure. Yeah, right now we're not doing, that's one of the tasks I still have actually left to do for 9.2.2 is add the publish to MyGet for the persona bar and the publish to NuGet for the platform. But that doesn't have to get done until the final release, so that won't be a problem. That's an easy task to write. But yeah, no, if you can get that or part of that in, anything that's makes sense as a whole unit for 9.3, that I think that'd be an awesome feature to add in there.
Yeah, I mean, should get some good performance improvements too, just with the newer version of React as well. So.
Let's see, the other items that are on the roadmap for 9.3 is the GDPR. Sebastian, do you have a update on that?
Yeah, we had our our second meeting today, but not all the members who voted to help did show up again. So we had a totally new group this time. It will take me a little bit of time to get everyone back on board and try to distribute things, but I think we're on a good way to provide some of the features of the GDPR roadmap.
And that'll be in time for the
this doesn't mean that it might be complete, and I think the total list is very large, so I don't expect everything to be in DNN 9.3, but I think we will try at least to get the most important features included.
All right, after you, I
and
guess.
Then add the other ones later on 9.3.1 or 9.3.2.
After you guys figure out what features you're going to get into or attempt to get into 9.3 and which ones you're going to attempt to get into a future build after that. Right now on the roadmap, I just have GDPR, so it's just a generic.
Yeah.
Format.
Yeah, that's something we decided to meet weekly, so I will try to get this discussion, continue the discussion next week and do a decision next week.
Okay. Yeah, no, I would just love to add, like, if it's going to be a couple things, got anything more descriptive for me to type in there, just so people don't get. What
we need is we first need to outline describe each feature and make sure that the requirements are properly documented, and then ask who is going to implement which feature, and then let's try to we want to submit it as pull request.
Perfect. And then I've committed to getting.
Do we have a template for feature requests at the moment? We got some of the feature request templates from ESW from April, but I'm not sure whether this is at the moment that would be the feature a way for me to continue with this work. Maybe simplify it a little bit, but at least use this as a template for us.
Yeah, we will. At least on GitHub, there's a pending pull request that David submitted. which adds.
Yeah, but we need to describe it up before we start. We need, of course, a description how the feature should look like and so on. And so we of course we need some format for describing new features. And as far as I know, there's nothing at the moment from the community, right?
Yeah, no, there's a pending pull request that adds more descriptive issue templates. So
Okay.
like if you go into the persona bar right now, I could actually probably show you guys here. Let's see.
I can see. Sorry, I'm in a hotel and don't have. I have limited internet here. It's a little bit horrible. Sorry.
But then on the other hand, you're in Thailand, so.
No, it's Munich.
So can you guys see my screen at the moment? Besides Sebastian, sorry. I figure I'll just show everybody else.
Yeah, we see it.
All right, so if you go under issues in the persona bar and do new issues, this is what David Poindexter submitted to the persona bar project. So we've got different templates for a feature request, and it goes through and gives you blocks to type in your request. So there's a pending pull request for the platform to do the same as well. So when you go in, you'll have these options, and it'll kind of give you a base template to start from for whatever you're trying to add in. Right now, I think geared mostly towards just bugs. So this should be a huge help. And then they're planning on adding a fourth item, I think, for like a documentation update. So hopefully that'll help us get a little bit more organized and keep track of our issues.
Related to documentation, I submitted a pull request on admin experience and platform to add the link to the video series I made this week.
Yep. Yeah, as soon as I get this RC out the door, those are the pull requests I'll start reviewing.
Cool.
And then as soon as we just get a second review, it'll be in for sure. There's no problem with adding. I don't have any problem with adding that link to the video series in the documentation.
Yeah, because that doesn't affect any versions.
Yep. Yeah, no, that'll go in the development branch just as soon as we get these show-stopping issues fixed in 9.2.2. And then let's see, on 9.3, I committed to the async and deferred provider for the CDF framework. I'm currently planning on trying to get that in about 2 weeks before the code freeze, so we can hopefully get a little bit more testing, since when it's enabled, if the module, the issues I've had internally using it on my sites with our testing has been, you have to be very specific on the order that things are being registered, especially if you're using the deferred mode, where the page is rendering without any JavaScript, and then all your scripts are being downloaded afterwards. I've had to go through and adjust all the modules that we use on our client sites that use the async and the deferred provider to kind of make sure all the orders are specifically called out and the CDF includes. So there should be no change in functionality. Since by default, it won't be enabled. It'll be something people have to specifically go and turn on and enable. But if we want a good experience, it's going to require a lot of testing to identify which core modules and which popular third-party modules have issues with either async or deferred scripts and CSS loading. And I think that
sounds good.
That's everything that's currently on the roadmap for 9.3. If anybody...
No, I would. I'm going to submit the new SQL. Trying to submit the improvements for the management of SQL script.
Perfect. Yeah. No. If anybody has
that with a pre and post script, so you have the option to split it up more and use and edit all the stored procedures in place instead of redoing them for every copying them over for every version.
Excellent. Yeah, I'll definitely look forward to seeing that come in. If you, whenever you get a chance, can at least least create the issue for that body of work.
I will. Yeah, I will.
And if you're definite it's going to go into 9.3, we can, add the 9.3 milestone and get it listed in the roadmap. And for anybody else that has anything that they would like to get in 9.3 or any other future build, having the issue created before the work is complete, I think is just useful from a planning perspective, so we can kind of get a bigger picture of what the upcoming releases will look like.
Yeah, sure.
And I know that's something like the async deferred issue. I'm definitely at fault for it as well. It only exists on the roadmap page. It doesn't exist in GitHub. So I'll definitely go through and get that created so we can add it and it can just get more visibility.
Sounds good.
So we've got 15 minutes. I don't know if there's an open discussion. Anyone would like to bring up any issues or bring anything to the group?
Yeah, I have one question I want to ask. How was 921? According to you guys, did we hear any issues? What was the reception?
Everything I've heard has been great. I haven't had any complaints.
Yeah, it's been good for me too.
People have updated their site?
I updated maybe 4 or 5 sites with it and 2 new ones. And everything's smooth so far.
Okay. There were some reports, I think, on Facebook that it's running a bit faster, at least the installation. Now, are others experiencing the same?
Yes.
That in general, it's running faster? Or just the installation?
No, I mean, on my machine in general, it's running faster. Of course, I have a compare it to an Evoke instance, so I don't know if that's...
It might be a reason.
I forget the pull request that was merged in that had a unintended performance increase. I can't remember what it was offhand. But 922, Mitch has submitted the string management update, and I know that pull request alone has also increased performance and resource utilization on the server as well.
Do we have any data, like test data, that could point to the percentage of increase that people are seeing?
Not yet, no. So in part of the VSTS work that I'm planning on doing over the next, probably 6 to 12 months, will be getting to a point where we are load testing builds, whether it's just load testing maybe once a day, running a full suite of tests on everything that's been merged into development so far. And
my thought,
and getting data of like install time, of like first render of homepage, second render of homepage, slamming it with a bunch of users, see how many requests per second, the default install can handle.
And my thought is going toward, obviously there's always a lack of uptake on upgrades. Obviously with managed, we fight that a lot, but being able to communicate, improvements in performance and, reduction in resources could be a way that, some of the other community groups we've got going could, use to try and drive, that type of action. Right. So, any data is always good. So
one piece of data I can provide, I do a lot of testing with the core modules with upgrades and new installations and rolling back stuff and trying again. So I do that on virtual machines with very limited resources because it's just for basic testing and rolling back easily. And DNN92 took 2 minutes to install. And 921, I'm not sure, but 922 is like 39 seconds.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Like more than half, and
it's
a very limited machine.
Yeah, I mean, any information like that that comes from an independent party would be wonderful to have that we could reference, and then we could go out and not only manage but obviously the community groups, through Will, some of those groups we could push, kind of a campaign about let's get out there and get yourself upgraded. It's right for security. It's right for resources, right? I mean, let's try and educate our customer base, right?
Sounds like an awesome video project for Danielle.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Done what, 6?
There-
Muted.
I've
There
done
you go.
enough videos for this.
How are you a grid like the Brady Bunch?
3 hours of videos? Awesome.
9 releases and just do like a quick time lapse of the install. So just record like the install of the last like 6 or 9 releases, and then just do a little grid pattern and have them all loading. We'll see 922 finish first, and like one by one, each of the other videos would finish.
That'll be awesome. It's good.
So I've got over the past week or so, I figured out how to build a MVC module with the .NET CLI, so the Roslyn compiler, on a Mac and have it install on an instance and work. I've also figured out how to do hot reloading on that same module. So from Visual Studio Code, if you make any changes to the CS files or CSHTML files, CSS files, it can automatically recompile, send it over, and reload the browser. You don't have to ever refresh, build, copy, or anything.
Pretty cool. I can hear a blog post coming or a video.
Yep.
So,
That's something to show around.
Did you say
I have it
Mac?
all working on my Mac. Yeah.
Exactly, because that's the thing. You show that on a Mac screen on YouTube. That's something nice to point to.
And I'm gonna include that in my the generator DNN as well. So not this next release, but the release after.
Cool.
I think.
Absolutely cool.
Awesome.
By the way, one announcement from our side, we open sourced the EVS. We've been talking about it for some time. So the wait was make sure that there was nothing kind of sensitive in the code. So we went through a couple of layers of checking, and it's all there. The blog is out. Clint actually wrote the blog, my name. So the blog's there, the repo is there. I think all that's needed is to hook it up with the CLA, and you guys can start playing with it and applying updates. I know it's behind. It flags things incorrectly, so we still have to figure out how we actually deploy the changes, but we'll figure out once we start to get the pull request. I think, although we may have to set up at least the packaging part, and the deployment, we may still do it manually. I don't know. We still have to figure that out, but at least it's out there. Everything's out there. And feel free to add more technical documentation, how to compile. We've provided some basic architectural information, what the components are. I personally also don't know. So it's a great opportunity for someone to kind of expand on it and be a champion of EVS.
Yeah, I'd be happy to set up a VSTS build, and after we figure out the deployment stuff, we could even automate that, since I know it's all on Azure. Deploying those bits from VSTS to Azure through a release pipeline is pretty straightforward. We just need the API key, basically, and
We can set that up.
that way, after you get a pull request, someone would just have to go in and click the button, or we could even automate the button clicking after a couple pull requests or something. As for the CLA, the request has been sent in like 2 weeks ago, and we bugged them again yesterday to get it set up on the admin experience repository and the EVS repository. So I still haven't heard back. I don't know if everyone at Microsoft's on holiday or something right now, but hopefully they'll get back and fix that and get that set up, because we have a couple pull requests without CLAs signed that are pending that we can't merge at the moment. one of them we really wanted to get into the 9.2.2 release, the accessibility changes. There was a lot of momentum around that, and kind of wanted to reward all the work that they put in by adding the basic labels for screen readers and getting that into the 9.2.2 build. But then we realized there was no CLA, and it was just the 11th hour. So unfortunately made the decision that's got to go into 9.3.
Is there a team formed about accessibility in the persona bar? No.
Sorry,
Is there a team, a focus group about accessibility in the persona bar?
I mean, I think
Not
right
yet.
now it's just the 2 or 3 people on the issue. There's a ton of comments on the issue. There's 21 comments on the issue in GitHub.
Okay.
So I know Catherine Moss, she's used all my previous control panels because they worked better with screen readers. So I've worked with her a lot in the past. And now she's on 9, it seems like. And I haven't had a chance to update my control panel. And that's when she's discovered that the persona bar just doesn't function too well at all for screen readers. And there's another guy that I don't recognize, Ali. I'm not even gonna try to pronounce his last name. From the UK, that is helping Catherine and starting to submit some pull requests. And then Peter is in the conversation as well.
I'm going to give a quick update. In 9.1, we did try to do, this is like April 26th, I posted the links. Am I muted? No. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Oh, yeah. So there wasn't we made Persona Bar ADA compliant. It's not WCAG, which is a higher standard. So I think we need to form a team in the community to kind of study where we are. We hope it's not broken. It was a big effort to go screen by screen, use tools, and kind of make sure that images have all text and everything, right? So the big exercise was done in 9.10. So we do call DNN to be ADA compliant. It's not WCAG 2.0, but that's where we want to go, right? Government and all of those guys. So I think it's important to have a team out there to kind of take a look and see, are we still compliant? I think we would want to call it we're compliant. And then what is the path to go to WCAG? Because that's what the government wants, right? It's ADA is the bare minimum, but it has to be WCAG.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree that we should a team to start looking at it. I mean, the changes, I haven't really looked at the pull request in depth yet, but I took a glance at it and it looked like, they're adding the screen reader labels. We're missing on all the icons and buttons. A lot of the links aren't links, they're just list items. So they don't even appear as clickable. So it was changes along those lines to just kind of start. It's a big item, and they've identified a lot of issues here. So I definitely look at issues here. I'll post it if you're not looking at it yet. But there's the issue on GitHub.
Well, if those are with the components, those need to be moved into the React Common as an issue as well. Because if it's like a core component like the DNN button and it doesn't have the ARIA, label on it, then that needs to be moved into React Common as well.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I know everyone's all already working double time, but anybody with some experience on these issues and how the persona bar is built, I think giving this guy a little bit of guidance would probably go a long way. Because he's already submitted a pull request to start the fixing these issues. Actually, he's got 5 pull requests, it looks like, that are open, or issues.
We've got 2 minutes left. The only other item I wanted to bring up was about the Docker. I don't know if there is anyone in the community looking at Docker. I think we need a champion there as well to see how the Docker support looked like in the current version of DNN, and not the .NET Core.
Joe used to do this, and it's the last person I managed to find actually in our community that was active on this on Docker. I hope someone else is at some point going to come forward, but I guess until we make some serious moves on platform independency, probably Docker is going to remain a moot point for DNN, right?
Yeah, it's hard because a Docker instance has to be independent, right? So if you get the Docker that restarts, then now what do you do with all the modules and the caching and all this other stuff?
Exactly.
Yeah, so are there specific scenarios that you're trying to address, Ash, with Docker?
Well, how do we, what is the story to deploy a DNN via a Docker image, right? For example, if I have a very simple site and if I need to either upgrade it or deploy a new version of a module, in general, the story in Docker is that there are application files and then there is a data file, and the Docker image is not where the data file is, right? We have everything merged. So if you deploy a module, should that be a new Docker image? What is the workflow going to be? Because our application is like, when you look into the Docker world, it just doesn't fit.
No,
right.
The instance should be immutable, right? And your data should be, SQL Server is outside, that's fine, that's a different thing. But the log files, when you install something, the search folder, when you upload an image, assets, all of that are all baked into DNN. So how we can separate that out so that you have a normal application, what they do is that a developer updates it and they simply push the image. Everything else remains the same, right? The database is not to be updated. We are so much.
Yeah, but that would require a staging environment where you can install the module and then you fire it up and say, okay, this is the master, and you have the configuration of your site separated from the data. And with our current concept where you have everything in the database, this doesn't really fit. It was already the situation with Azure compatibility before, because Azure is also built the way that you usually have an image and then you simply deploy it. And they made special changes for DNN to allow installation of modules and loading it dynamically. So I think this is something we need to keep in mind when we're heading for a new version, but I'm not sure whether it's very easy to implement this at the moment.
It kind of loops back to maybe what I said earlier as well. I think it's the Docker discussion probably hooks into our movement with .NET Core and how we re-architect the platform as a whole, because I'd love the platform also to be pulled apart into more discrete, like operating pieces that have distinct functions. That could fit very well actually with that Docker future.
Yeah, but it's a major change, or it's a new concept.
No. Anyway, I remember that for the conference 2 years ago, I went around to ask around the community because I would have loved to have had maybe even an entire track, but at least multiple presentations on Docker, because it's kind of the new hotness and everything. And it then also occurred to me that it was just not a great fit, right, with what we're doing. And Joe came back and said, well, I got it to work, which for me was a very thin kind of success, if you like. I got it to work. I was like, yeah, but was it any, was it practical or whatnot? So so it's a very valid question, Ash. I think that's
Yeah, I think we need to hunt down an expert in the community who's got some experience with production, with .NET applications. If you've got some suggestions, get them to present something to us so that lights up a few things in our minds.
Well, for sure, it'd be nice at one of the next conferences if someone who has done anything in this regard would be able to present something, so that you could then have a discussion in the room about, where that could go.
Yeah, I'm just throwing it out. A few things that we should look at with the technology.
Mm-hmm. Cool. All right.
Well, I have to drop. You guys are more than welcome to continue on as long as Clint wants to keep the conference going for, I guess. I want to respect Thomas's time.
Happy to drop as well.
And I need to get on a call with him to figure out how we're merging these couple pull requests. And I guess Brian or Ash, if one of you guys could give an initial review on, let's see, Thomas, I think you said we want to merge into release branch on the pull request. So that would be this pull request here, number 47. If we could get a single review from one of you guys on there, and Thomas can give it the second review on the call and we can merge it in. I don't want to violate our 2 review policy to fix the breaking change and getting the release candidate out the door. And then the other pull requests that haven't been submitted yet, hopefully we can turn those around either quickly this evening or when you guys get into work first thing tomorrow morning, so we can get the release candidate hopefully out before end of day tomorrow. Keep the release on track. I'll I guess talk to you guys later or on Slack.
Thanks, Oliver.
Yep.
Bye, guys. Thanks, Oliver.
And let me know when you need me for testing.
Perfect. Will do.
All right. See y'all.
See you.